Gopijan Vallabha Givaradari Gopijan Vallabha Givaradari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tiravana Chari Yamuna Tiravana Chari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayam Vishipa Paramahansa Padavikacharya Satora Sata Shri Srimad His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Anantakoti Vaishnavindi Ki Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasri Gaur Bhaktivedanta Ki Shri Shri Radha Krishna Go Gokapina Shamakun Radhakun Giri Govardhan Ki Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Nitai Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories, Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga, Hari 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 Bol. So my name is Sikhi Mahiti Das, disciple of Srila Prabhupada and the co-president of ISKCON Atlanta. Yeah, they have some of these weird titles sometimes. So take all your blessings, especially from the senior devotees, that maybe I say something that will enliven us to continue our service to Srila Prabhupada Ki. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naranchaivam Narotamam Devim Sarasatim Vyasam Ito Jayam Udirayet Nastapareshu Avareshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavadutama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Shrinvata Swakata Krishna Punya Shavana Kirtanam Hiriransto Hibadrani Vidunoti Saritsitam. I'm going to give class kind of in the Atlanta ISKCON style. We only have a few devotees, so depends who's there. We say, okay, you give class. So usually, as we read the purport, we comment. And then at the end of the purport, I'll make my final points. The purport today has a lot of points in it. Each one of those points could be a class by itself. So I just wanted to say a few things on each of those points. But if I just read the whole purport, I think some of those points will be hard to reintroduce again. So anyway, we'll try that out, see how it goes, okay? So the reason I'm saying that is we'll say these prayers that we normally say after we read the purport. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimad Bhagavatam Swami Niti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nivesesha Sunyavari Pashyata Deshatarane Vanchakapaturubhyascha Kripasindubevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So we're continuing this chapter of King Yayati regains his youth. Today's verse, Canto 9, Chapter 18, Text 40. Shri Yadu Vacha Natsahe Jarasa Statum Antara Praptaya Tava Avitva Sukam Gramyam. I don't think I said it right. Aviditva Sukam Gramyam. Vaitrishyam Naiti Purusha Shri Yaruvacha Natsahe Jarasa Statum Antara Praptaya Tava Aviditva Sukam Gramyam Vaitrishyam Naiti Purusha Shri Yaruvacha Natsahe Jarasa Statum Antara Praptaya Tava Aviditva Sukam Gramyam Vaitrishyam Naiti Purusha. Vaishnava, Prabhu, you want to chant? Shri Yaduvacha Natsahe Jarasa Satum Antara Praptaya Tava Avidita Sukam Ganyam Vaitrishyam Naiti Purusha Shri Yaduvacha Natsahe Jarasa Statum Antara Praptaya Tava Avidita Sukam Vaishnavis. Viditva Sukam Gamyam Vaitrishyam Naiti Purusha Shri Yaduvacha Natsahe Jarasa Satum Antara Praptaya Tava Vaitrishyam Shri Yaduvacha. Yadu, the eldest son to Yayati, replied, Na utsahe. I'm not enthusiastic. Jarasa. With your old age and invalidity. Satum. To remain. Antara. While in youth. Praptaya. Accepted. Tava. Your. Avidita. Without experiencing. Sukham. Happiness. Gramyam. Material or bodily. Vaitrishyam. Indifference to material enjoyment. Na. Does not. Iti. Attain. Purusha. A person. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada Ki. Yadu replied, "My dear father, you have already achieved old age, although you also were a young man." Let me repeat that again. Yadu replied, "My dear father, you have already achieved old age, although you also were a young man. But I do not welcome your old age and invalidity. For unless one enjoys material happiness, one cannot attain renunciation." Purport. Renunciation of material enjoyment is the ultimate goal of human life. Therefore, the Varnashram institution is most scientific. So just to clarify a point here, we all think of human life, and most of us are coming out of the non-devotional background, right? Not many people's, how many people's parents were devotees? Raise your hand. Right, okay. So we're not talking that kind of human life. That's really not human life at all. That is animal life. It's uncivilized. There's no rules and regulations. Depending on which country you're born in, they have some man-made code of morality. But it's not what Prabhupada mentions here, Varnashram, which comes from Krishna, right? Chaturvanyam Mayashrista, Guna Karma Sabhagava. There's 4 classes of men that have been created, and they're meant to act a certain way under this Varnashram system. So he said it's scientific. Scientific means what? It means you can experiment and you get a result. You get the same result every time. So that's scientific. It's not just sentiment, a great idea. There's so many great ideas out there, aren't there? All kind of communism, democracies, all these different, what Prabhupada called them, demon crazies. So we can see, they all know they have some fault. They all fail. All of them fail. They all have a fault. Good intentions, but they don't satisfy everyone, do they? If you all were satisfied, you wouldn't be here now chanting Hare Krishna. So they don't work. So this Varnashram institution is for human life. So it aims at giving one the facility to return home back to Godhead, which one cannot do without completely renouncing all connections with the material world. So that's a very big statement. And of course, we think, well, how do you do that? Does that mean I should go off to the woods? That's also the material world. You can't escape the material world. So it's a change of consciousness, ultimately. When we say renounce the connections with the material world. Just like imagine someone walks into the bank. Bank has lots of money in it, right? And you declare, I renounce all this money. What kind of renunciation is that? You didn't own the money anyway. But I renounce it. So even in the material world, I'm renouncing. Well, you don't own anything. So what's there to renounce? Did you bring it with you at your birth? Do you take it with you when you die? So what's there to renounce? So this renouncing means renouncing the spirit of trying to enjoy it, right? Another man walks in the bank and he says, give me all the money, right? I'm taking it all, give it to me. So we're like that, we're thieves. We come to this world and we begin to claim this is mine, that's mine, and we all fight. So then they come up with democracy, socialism, communism, you name it, oh, capitalism, so many things. Prabhupada calls that honor amongst thieves. If the thieves steal some bounty, then once they steal it, they sit down and they, okay, now let us divide it honestly. So we're like that, thieves. So the intelligent man recognizes this property belongs to Krishna. Let me use it in his service. But Krishna's service is so wonderful that somehow or another you benefit, isn't it? We make offerings, beautiful offerings every day to the deities. It's for Krishna's pleasure. But what does it feel like? Doesn't it feel like it's our pleasure? You feel like, I can't wait to come see the deities for deity greeting. Everybody, you look at the faces, everybody's like, oh, it's so beautiful. You know, isn't it? But it's all for Krishna. Even we offer so much wonderful bhog, rasgulla, sandesh. How many people come at 4 o'clock and get the sandesh? Most of you don't know about that, do you? You come at 4 o'clock for that deity greeting, opening when they wake up, Panchatattva altar. About 4:15, 4:20, you can get sandesh from the deities. So I'll let you on an inside secret. All for Krishna, but he's so kind, he's so expert, that when he eats it, he leaves it for us. So, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Nishkinchanasya Bhagavat Bhajano Moksha. One wants to go back home, back to Godhead. One who wants to go back home, back to God, it must be Nishkinchana, free from all affinity for material enjoyment. So this is the consciousness. You have to give up being a thief. Brahmya upasamamarya. Unless one is fully renounced, one cannot engage in devotional service or stay in Brahman. So again, remember, renounced isn't this false renunciation that I renounce all the money in the bank. We're not talking that kind of renunciation. But recognizing to whom this belongs to and use it in his service. Devotional service is rendered on the Brahman platform. Therefore, unless one attains the Brahman platform or spiritual platform, one cannot engage in devotional service. Or in other words, a person engaged in devotional service is already on the Brahman platform. And so, of course, nowadays it's very fashionable. People like to be spiritual, isn't it? Yoga, so many things. Even religion, you know, mysticism, and they lump it all in the same category. This is spiritual. But the difference between matter and spirit is how we utilize everything, either for Krishna or for our enjoyment. So this is the spiritual platform we're talking about. Therefore, as soon as we utilize everything in Krishna's service, we're on the Brahman platform. So Prabhupada goes on to quote, Mam cha yo vyabhicharina bhakti yogena sevate saguna samatityaitan brahma bhuyayo kalpate. One who engages in full devotional service, who does not fall down in any circumstance, at once transcends the modes of material nature, and thus comes to the level of Brahman. So let's analyze this a little bit here. And this Brahma Bulyaya Kalpate, that platform of Brahman, everyone is looking for that. Brahman is the state of our happiness. The spirit soul is Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha, in form. He's full of knowledge, he's eternal, and he is unlimitedly happy. No restrictions. Therefore, the living entity, when he's in material consciousness, he's always frustrated. Isn't it? Why? Why is he frustrated? Because I don't know. Who am I? Where do I come from? What should I do? How should I act? We're in ignorance. Because we're identifying with the body, we feel like, oh, I'm going to die and things are changing around me. You know, my youth is going to go away, or it's always in fear. What to do. And because we're identifying with the body, there's not ananda, because the body is always demanding so many things that we can't fulfill. Even from childhood, if we remember how, at least I remember, I always wanted one of these special bikes. You remember those bikes with the butterfly handlebars? The old people know them. Had this special Schwinn bicycle. Everybody had to have one. Longing, Mom, please, you got to get me one of those. What do I have to do to have it? You know, youth is gone. You become older. Do you want bicycle now? No, I want car. A little older? No, I want new car. It never stops. The senses they're not merciful. You can sacrifice so much to satisfy them. And do they say thank you? No, immediately, no more. Not good enough. So this is the platform of the material consciousness. But our nature is to be unhindered, to be able to do whatever we want, whenever we want. Don't you feel like that? I want to be able to do whatever I want, when I want, no restrictions. Everybody wants that platform. But you cannot have it in the material world or in material consciousness. You can't have it. In the spiritual world, it's just the opposite. You can be anything, do anything. So many books describe that. Srimad Bhagavatam Rita, it's very nice. Anything you want, you can do. There's no restriction. You can become a blade of grass, you can be a cowherd boy, whatever you want, it's up to you. For what? Why? Because I'm trying to satisfy Krishna. I become the servant of Krishna. So, Saguna Samatityatan is the gunas, the three modes of material nature. Right? They're stabbing us all the time with this karma, these desires, manifesting one after another, is described by Rupa Goswami. Currently, we're experiencing desires, hankering. I want this, I want that. There's some others that are beginning to manifest. Yeah, as soon as you finish that, we're going to do this also. And there's others you don't even know. They're just waiting in seed form. You see? One after another. So the gunas are there. So everyone's trying to rise above that. That's what they're trying to do. I want to get above that. So the material solution is what? Unlimited money. Yeah, that'll fix the problem. But we see it doesn't fix the problem. Even the greatest materialist, who was the greatest materialist? Actually, Hiranyakasipu. He got everything. The whole universe. He was so powerful. He didn't even need the demigods. There's 33 million demigods that control all the functions of this material realm. He didn't need any of them. He could do all their work. And they were suffering because they had nothing to do. Was he satisfied? Gained the entire universe. Can you imagine that? Wasn't satisfied. So this is the nature of the material world. So how do you rise above? We know not intelligent person realizes not by material activities. Bhakti yogena sevate. You have to render the seva of bhakti yoga. Bhakti means devotion. Yoga to link with the Supreme in devotion. So what's required to do that? Vyabhicharina. Prabhupada describes this word in many ways. Sometimes here in his translation he says full devotional service. One who's engaged in full devotional service and does not fall down. I heard in one class where he described it with great determination. Vyabhicharya means I'm so determined. I can relate to that one more. You have to be determined to succeed. So this devotional service, mamcha, unto me with great determination, you render devotional service. And when you do that, saguna samatityatam, you rise above the gunas. And the first thing above the gunas is Brahman. So three realizations of absolute truth are there. This impersonal realization, Brahman, just the bliss and the happiness. Right? So the impersonalists, they stop. Oh, I'm happy. Nobody disturb me. I'll just merge. I don't care who's next to me. I'm so happy. Still I conscious. After being frustrated, the next is realizing Paramatma, the controller. Yeah, forget about doing nothing. Let me do some miracles. Right? You get the 8 mystic cities. You can do so many things, smaller than the smallest, bigger than the biggest, do all kinds of things. Finally, after that frustration, oh, just let me serve Krishna. Then you rise to the platform of devotional service. So this is the platform Prabhupada says next, that if one attains devotional service, therefore he is certainly liberated. So we have devotional service. I don't feel liberated. Right? So, isn't it? You can argue like that. I can say that. Well, then why am I in anxiety? So many examples are given about that. My favorite is the example of the iron rod. You take the iron rod and you put it in the fire. Fire could be devotional service. As soon as you put it in the fire, does it get hot? No, it doesn't. It takes some time. Right? If you keep taking it out, it never gets hot. Vyabhicharina, don't take it out. You stick with devotional service. 9 processes of devotional service. And eventually it becomes like fire, isn't it? So someone will say, it's not fire, it's iron. Prabhupada says, okay, touch it. That's the nature of the absolute truth. It's iron and it's fire. Devotional service can consume everything, because everything is Krishna. The problem is, some of us, because we're independent, we have the option. I don't want to serve Krishna. I want to be Krishna. So for us, everything changes. You know, just like if you're sitting here, we have nice sunshine, but sometimes it's very cloudy, isn't it? Is the cloud covering the sun, or is it covering us? You see? We're like that. The sun is encompassing everything, but this little cloud is over us, and we think, oh, there's no sun. Everything is lost. You see? So we have to, Om Jnana Timirandhasa, we have to open our eyes with this torchlight of the sun to see things properly again. So it says, and generally, unless one enjoys material happiness, one cannot attain renunciation. So this was a practice, I guess, that was performed. It goes on to say, Yadu, the son of Maharaj Yayati, explained that he was unable to give up his youth, for he wanted to use it to obtain the renounced order in the future. He is following this system of an ashram, and in the ashram side, there's brahmachari, grihastra, vanaprastha, sannyas. So the first 25 years, they try to convince you, stay brahmachari. Well, after 25 years, okay. Then you get married, follow the system of religion. It's expected after a certain point, if you still don't get the realization, Vanapras by age 50. Husband and wife live simply, practice spiritual life. Another 25 years, still don't have it, sannyas, take sannyas, all the way, so that at death you can be concentrating fully on devotional service. Otherwise, whatever you remember at the time of death, you get that in your next life. So Yadu, he was inclined toward developing pure love of God. He wasn't just a Brahmavadi, Karmakandya. I just want to follow this system of religion that makes us materially happy. You do what your father says. So many rules and regulations are there. The other brothers are like that. And all the brothers, except for one, renounced the father's desire. But here is pointing out, Yadu, he renounced, but he did it for a different reason. It's for the sake of Krishna consciousness. So Krishna consciousness is that important. A more modern example for us is to look at Srila Prabhupada and how he brought Krishna consciousness to us, how he practiced Krishna consciousness. We can contrast it a little bit maybe with his God brothers, not in a fault-finding way, because who are we? These are elevated Vaishnavas. But we see the success Prabhupada had. And the success is continuing, isn't it? That proves it must be real. By the time Prabhupada left the planet, there was 108 temples. Now we have almost 700 temples. Because we adhere to the spirit and the principle of what Prabhupada was giving us. You can look at the example of his disciples and how he engaged them also. It's probably a good fortune that, I think he mentions that also, when he went to America. He said one of the good qualities about the Americans was that they were irresponsible. What? How can irresponsible people practice Krishna consciousness? Because you take more risk, isn't it? Amongst Prabhupada, I think he had almost, they say the number is like 5,000 disciples. I would dare say maybe there's 100 Indian disciples. Would you say the same? Rajendra Nanda, what do you think? Indian? Yeah. But anyway, I remember at the time, because what Prabhupada demanded, the mode of goodness. I have my mother, I have my father, I have to take care of. How can I renounce all this and surrender to you? How can I do that? Americans like, well, heck with this crap, I'm going back to God. It's kind of the American mentality, So, I tell devotees, maybe I've said this before, I remember when I read the book, I was so drawn to being a devotee, everything changed immediately. And the sense I got from reading the book was, you have to surrender everything. What's the point in doing all these other things? They're going to end anyway, so what's the point in having a big bank balance, big house? When you die, do you take it with you? No. So let us sacrifice now to attract Krishna. So my mother didn't agree with that, of course. And she was very adamant. No, you're going to finish the university. You're going to school. I don't care what you say. And inside, I was like, I can't do it. I signed up. I'm sitting there. I didn't even finish the semester. I said, forget it. I'm going to the temple. And she put the ultimate threat. Very heavy. If you do not leave that place, I will commit suicide. See, all the Indians are like, mother, father is very powerful. Older brother even, I noticed. Even older brother, isn't it? I know some devotees, some of our God brothers, and I was trying to get one of them to give a big donation. And I said, you ask him to give the donation. He said, no, I can't ask him. I said, why not? He's my older brother. I said, that's why you can ask him. Because in the West, older brothers are supposed to do what you say, isn't it? Not in India. No, you don't ask him like that. I was shocked. I said, okay, fine, I'll go ask him. You know, let me put some pressure. Like I said, he said you have to give it. So, anyway, the cultural thing. So to surrender to Krishna, you have to surrender. You have to give it all up. You have to be ready to give it all. It doesn't mean you have to, but you should be prepared to. And this is what the verse is hinting at here. Unless you're materially exhausted. And realize there's no hope. There's no shelter. It's all a waste of time. Now you can do anything. So Prabhupada said that was one of their qualifications. And therefore, and then he said also, I didn't have to untrain them. When I joined, I never heard of vegetarian. It wasn't until I read the book, I go, what? Don't eat meat? I couldn't believe it. I was shocked. I didn't know people did that. But I said, okay, fine. I'm not going to do it anymore. So whatever he gave us, we fully accepted. We grabbed his mood. And you see how he developed the movement. The first married couple, who knows the name of the first married couple? No, I won't say that. That's a tough one. At least one of the first married couples in San Francisco. Malati and Shamasundar. Because they're living like hippies. They, who care? We don't need to get married, you know. I said, no, you should get married. And then they had a child. And then they got inspiration. Because Prabhupada raised them to be preachers. This is a Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtan. This is what I was trying to lead up to. This Sankirtan is the most powerful force. This is the Jaga. And he engages in that Sankirtan. So the desire awakened that we want to go and meet the Beatles. This is the famous musical group. And if we make them devotees, our movement will take off very fast. So we're going to London. Prabhupada said, okay. They just had a baby. Isn't that irresponsible? He should, no, you get a job, chant Hare Krishna, raise your family in Krishna consciousness, and be peaceful. Set the example. He didn't say that. Gaudiya Math would say that, right? No, go. You have my blessings. They had no money. And she gets to London, they have no money, no place to stay, nothing. I asked her, I said, where did you sleep? You know where she slept with the baby? She'd get a big box and go into the subway station and sleep in the box. And then wake up in the morning and go on the street. Don't you know Krishna's God? No books, nothing. Don't you know Krishna's God? You have to, don't you? Now look what's happened in London. You know, the Queen comes to the temple, Prime Minister. You know. Because of that devotion, that's what we're awakening, we're showing the devotion, we're awakening that. That's what we're doing. So, in that sense of devotion, all these things which seem irreligious are the most glorious. Let me finish reading this purport. We're getting lower because I want to get to a point where Prabhupada talks about, of course, Maharaj Yadu, again, just to bring this up, we know Maharaj Yadu is the Yadu dynasty. Starts from him. So we know this pastime's in Dwarpa Yuga. So he says here that the brothers, they refused to accept their father's proposal because they were not completely aware of Dharma. To accept the orders that follow religious principles, especially the orders of one father, is very important. So a lot of Indian disciples, you know, what can I do? My father wants me to, you know, so. Even Swarup Damodar, when Prabhupada was in his pastime of leaving his body, Swarup Damodar's father had passed away. You were there, right? And he approached Prabhupada because he's the eldest son. And he said, my father has passed away and they're asking for me to come back. Do I have to go? I said, no, you don't have to go. I can't relate to that because I say in America we don't really have that sentiment, but I can only imagine, you know, his father, the whole community made it possible for him to become Swarup Damodar, PhD from America. And then one of the most important moments in their material life, you don't come. And he did that. He didn't go. That seems irreligious. But because we're acting for Krishna, it's not irreligious. What you realize is that we would like Krishna consciousness to be black and white. You know, do this, don't do this, do this. But it's not that. It's mostly gray area, isn't it? Why is it like that? Because Krishna is like that. He never makes things convenient. Make it convenient for you to surrender. You know? Did he make it convenient for Prabhupada? He let Prabhupada work very hard in business, accumulate so much money. He said he was practically one of the wealthiest men in India. His horoscope said he should have been one of the wealthiest men in India. But Krishna took all the money away. Took everything away. And sent him to America with nothing but some rubber shoes. Rubber shoes and some, what do you call it, puff rice. Yeah. So, and because why? Vyabhicharina gives you a chance. It takes love to have vyabhicharina, isn't it? You can't, there's no determination unless you really love something. We see with Jayapataka Swami, the same thing. Easy, he could just left his body, whatever. Why do you have to go through all this? Yet when you're in a room with him, you don't lament, oh, poor Jayapataka. Actually, you get enlivened. Yeah. He's transcendental. Saguna samatityatan, Brahma Bhuya Kalpa. He's rose above. And so these examples are there for the service. So, let me finish up real quick here. I'm skipping over some of this. Prabhupada mentions that he talks about this point of how if one doesn't experience his material desires, then if he jumps too quickly to the other orders, he may fall down. And he says here that, he said, we have actually seen that many sannyasis who accepted sannyas prematurely, not having satisfied their material desires, fall down because they are disturbed. Therefore, the general process is to go through grahastha life, vanaprastha life, finally come to sannyas and devote oneself completely to the service of the Lord. We know Prabhupada didn't do that either with devotees, because he's growing the movement. So at one point he realizes we need some sannyasis. So he just, you sannyas. Hridayananda Maharaj, I think he just got married. He'd been married 1 year. And Prabhupada said, you take sannyas. Can you imagine his wife? What? I just got married and you're taking my husband from me. She didn't complain. Imagine you get married and the next year your Guru Maharaj tells your husband, take sannyas. What would you do? What would you do, Mathura Leela? For the men, I guess, it's kind of, yeah, Maharaj now, come on, bring me some Maharaj. It's not really for that, but I'm just saying, But all the devotees were in that mood. So in that mood, there's no sinful activity in a sense. Of course, under the order of Guru, too. And we had full faith in Prabhupada. You could taste the bhava coming from him. You could feel it. And you wanted to be like that. You just wanted not be like that. You wanted to serve him within that mood. So practically speaking, most people, they didn't want to get married because, you wanted to use all your time for that. Even the ones who got married, they didn't go out and get jobs. They say, Prabhu, you two are married. Then the man goes into the brahmachari ashram, the lady goes back to the brahmachari ashram. Wasn't it? Pretty much, except for maybe LA had some houses. And then you ask permission. Can I talk to my wife for an hour? Sure, go ahead, Temple President. Yeah, you can talk for 1 hour. So, because the purpose, Param Vijayate Sri Krishna Sankirtanam, Chaito Darpanam Marjanam. It's so glorious that it cleanses our heart immediately. It takes all these bad qualities that we have. You know, like to sell the books. You couldn't sell them like sadhus in the beginning. If you went when you're dhoti, maybe you do 1 or 2 books a day. Right? The Prabhupada was, no, he's ordering 10,000 books. So what are you going to do? Follow religion and be disrespectful all the time? No, we put on wigs, put on some karmi clothes. Hey, where you flying in from? Come here. Yeah, come on. Take it with you. Give a donation. What's it all about? You can read about it later. Everybody's giving. Come on. Okay. Transcendental. Transcendental. So this is the glory of Sankirtan. I get a chance to use my mode of passion, my propensity to cheat, all these things in Sankirtan. Even Prabhupada fighting for Bombay, fighting for Mayapur. You know, so many no's. Did they accept no? No, you have to sometimes, you know, if you do business, you have to do business. That's what it means sometimes. You can't say I'm a businessman and then you don't make a profit because I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. No, you have to tell them, for you, I make no profit. And convince them of that. Right? That's not cheating. You either do business or you don't do it. Yeah. But you take the results of your business and do what? Use it for Krishna, or better for Sankirtan. So the Sankirtan movement is glorious like way. And so we have 2 businesses. Our main business, of course, is to purify ourselves, try to relish and enter into these pastimes of Krishna. And our other business, actually they're parallel, is the Sankirtan under the direction of His Divine Grace for His satisfaction as He's given it to us to fulfill His desires. If you dedicate yourself to that, you'll find that you won't be disturbed. If you simply concentrate on, let me try to chant Hare Krishna without offense. Let me try to follow the rules of sadhana bhakti so that I can experience the bliss of Krishna consciousness. That's very difficult to do. But if you take that same energy and you use your brain to determine how to expand this Krishna conscious movement, and then you take the risk to do it, you'll see Krishna. You'll see Krishna help you. You experience the bliss. That's how these devotees advance so rapidly. I think Jayapataka took sannyas after 1 or 2 years. Because of the consciousness. That's immediately you're on the Brahman platform. With the consciousness like that. Not I, me, mine, but my body, mind, and soul, that is sannyasi. Everything, words, is for Krishna service. So you use me, Lord, however you want. Even if I can't do it, I want to cultivate that. You know, it doesn't mean because I'm not on the front line, I'm not a preacher. You know, Jananivas, perfect example. His service was taking care of the Radha Madhava. From the hut. How many people want to live in Nityananda? How many people have stayed in Nityananda Kutir? Anyone? It's not easy, is it, huh? Oh, she's a sadhu, that's easy. She don't care. Go stay in Nityananda Kutir with a hut and just steal. There's no air conditioning, no. He lived like that, you know, nothing to eat. But he was dedicated to, I'm going to take care of Radha Madhava, little brass Radha Madhava. 45 years, practically speaking, never left Mayapur. Vyabhichari now, again. And that awakens your love. At least we can think, like I think this way. I don't really have a lot of compassion for fallen conditioned souls, but I know it pleases Prabhupada, so let me go do this Sankirtan. Why? Because I want to go back to Godhead. That's okay. We can have that desire. That we can relate to. We can't relate to, oh, Krishna and the flute, he's so wonderful, his beautiful hair. Some of us can, I guess. I can't so much. But I can relate to, I don't want to take birth again. Who wants to take birth again and have to become a little boy, little girl, go through all this? No. Maybe when we reach the next stage, then we can say, Nadanam, Najanam, Nasundarim. We can say all those things. So, that's one little story. Jayapataka Maharaj tells that story. Maybe you heard it before, how he was with Prabhupada. He just wanted to show his appreciation, his dedication to Prabhupada. So he kept saying so many things, like, you know, I'll just jump to the last one, but Prabhupada just kept telling him, you're not the most anything. And he finally says, Prabhupada, I'm the most fallen. He says, you're not the most anything. He says, well, I just want to serve you birth after birth. He says, don't make your spiritual master take birth again. Go back to Godhead. You know, repositioning our understanding so we can serve. Even Prabhupada, he didn't just sit around as a Uttamadhikari relishing Krishna. You can't preach if you're in that mood. You see him even when he's leaving his body. He's still translating. Still translating. He's so fixed and determined on the Madhyam platform. So we can cultivate this. Even if we don't have it, we cultivate it. Try to understand it. You have a lot of older devotees here who've experienced it. Some of these Prabhupada disciples here. You take some time and talk to them. And you know, why did you serve like this? Why did you? And you'll get some real, you know, some taste of why. Maybe it'll sit in your heart, and you'll go, okay, yeah, okay, now I can do it. And then when Krishna, he'll give you the opportunity. It'll come. You just have to decide whether you want to do it or not. But everybody knows Krishna wants me to do something I don't want to do. But he's also given me another choice. You know. So sometimes take that choice. That's how you'll see Krishna. I retired from working about 11 years ago. It was an early retirement, but I could see it was an opportunity because I was always, my wife had bad health, so I always I need health insurance, so I have this good job that could provide health insurance for her. But I always in my heart go, man, I really like to be in the ashram. I would get jealous. See the devotees doing service, and I got to go to work. You know, my wife would go every day, service. And I said, you know, this is not fair. We need to switch. You work, and I go to the temple. Nah, you're the husband. You're going to work. I'm going to the temple. So I used to think like, say, Krishna, if you ever give me the opportunity to quit this job, and I can have health care for the wife, I'm going to take it. So the opportunity came. The companies were merging. And they're going to allow people to leave with all the benefits. But that means I have to lose my house to do it. So I talked to the wife, because, you know, women like house. I said, well, here's this opportunity. We can either move to California and start all over again, because that's what's going to happen, or I can take this package and we'll just go into the ashram. But you got to give the house up. I said, but you can buy a house in Mayapur. And I was surprised. She says, okay. Wow. So it was a struggle. It was a struggle. Definitely a struggle. It was suffering. You cannot avoid suffering in the material world. But when you suffer for Krishna, it becomes blissful. There's the difference. One last pastime. Prabhupada gives the example of he was doing a fire jaga I don't remember where it was, somewhere in India. And, you know, fire jugga requires ghee and so many ingredients. You have to spend money to do it. So he said, this is called a sacrifice because you have to spend so much money. In Treta Yuga, the fire juggas were very costly, right? And now we have this small one and it's difficult to do. So he said, but even though it's difficult, you cannot avoid difficulty. He mentioned how in World War II, when India was being bombed, the government needed money to purchase bullets and bombs. So what did they do? They took all the money from the rich people. He says, Swaha, boom, all the money gone. So he says, you can do that Swaha or you can do this Swaha. But you're going to do Swaha. It's our choice. It's our choice. So better to pick the Swaha for Krishna. It's more blissful. And again, you talk to any devotees who take all these risks for preaching. It's always an adventure, isn't it? It always felt like that, an adventure. Like, man, we're revolutionaries. It was, materially speaking, it was fun. But to speak of the spiritual benefit, right? Traveling around in a bus, and police are chasing you, so many things. Trying to spread Krishna consciousness. So I'll stop here. We have 5 minutes. Any comments or questions? Does anyone have? The microphone is there. Or? Good. Let's stop here. All glory, Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga. Okay, we'll give him 5. And once you get started, we'll go to 10 after. I saw the class of Virginia Nanda trying to stop the questions. He was sitting up here like...
Hare Krishna.
Go ahead.
When you were talking about the Varnashram, you said you go to Brahmacharya Ashram, and after you go to Grihastha Ashram.
Yes.
And if you have not realized it, you go to Vanaprastha Ashram. And if you have not realized, you go to Sannyas. If you realize in Grihastha Ashram, no need to go to Vanaprastha or Sannyas?
Well, because we're Vaishnavas. We have a different work. We're not Brahmins per se, even though we have Brahmin duties we do. Therefore, Prabhupada could send a householder couple like a sannyasi to London. Bhaktisiddhanta also sent big erudite sannyasis to London. Did they have the same success as these hippie householders? So, you know, these things require 3 things. There's Shastra, Sadhu, and Guru. So you have to consult all 3. And then you make the decision what to do. So it's not, you can't always say, do this in this case, do this in that case. It would be nice if it was like that. But of course, it wouldn't be any fun either if it's all so easy. They decided. This is where you get to show your love. When you have these tough choices. What should I do? When should I do it? Even Prabhupada, he married his sannyasi. Can you imagine that? He's a sannyasi. He goes, I want to get married. Prabhupada performed the fire jugga. You can see the video. Because we're Vaishnavas. We're all the ashrams. One devotee said that. When I heard some devotees talking, he says, Prabhu, I'm a Kshatriya. He says, I'm a Vaishnava, so I'm all of them. Because we can do any of them. Sudra, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Brahman. Depends what needs to be done for Krishna, right? I can be any of them. Because we're performing Sankirtan. Whatever we need for Sankirtan, we can do that. And that varies according to the time, place, and circumstance. So if you're in Mayapur, India, okay, be more Brahminical. Like you notice we don't have women doing the artiks. Prabhupada had them doing the artik at one point, but then he stopped because he said most of the Indian people won't accept it. You know, but in America, you know, you can do it. Ladies can do that. They give class. They do so many things. So, you know, those adjustments have to, that's the fun part. Jai, all glory, Shri Guru, Shri Gauranga, Hari Bol.